One of the things that certainly struck me, and I guess would have struck you as well, was at the very last line of the Gospel, when this kind of motley crew that Jesus had gotten together of the apostles who had denied him, said they'd never met him, refused to believe in his resurrection till they could put their fingers in his side and all of that. So often they were sad when Jesus was crucified, and they were sad about all sorts of things. And yet here they are now with Jesus being taken out of their life, as it were, into heaven. And it says they returned to the city full of joy. Obviously, there'd been an enormous transformation of the apostles over this time. Like the rest of us, I guess they were a bit thick. It took them a while to understand what on earth Jesus was on about. He kept trying to teach them, and still they failed. And then suddenly something would dawn on them, like when they saw him after the resurrection. You remember Thomas, of course, said, "No, I'm not going to believe any of that stuff until I can put my finger into his hand and my hand into his side." And so here they are now, full of joy. They finally got it, of what Jesus' mission in the world was about. And now he's done his work, as it were. He's ascending to the Father with his work already done. And we can say, well, stand on the side and clap and say, well done, hooray. But that's just half the story, because Jesus had instructed his apostles, us, his disciples, he's instructed us to complete his work. He's sent the Holy Spirit, which we've got coming up at Pentecost, who will give us the strength and courage and wisdom and insight to continue his work. And that was what filled the apostles with joy when they headed back into the city and were in the synagogues preaching Jesus everywhere they could, but not with their head cast down, but full of joy. So the ascension is certainly about the ascension of Jesus into heaven, but the second part of that is about the responsibility, the coming of the Holy Spirit, for us to complete his work. His work goes on. It goes on through you and through me. And I was just sort of contemplating this, and I came across a story which is true, but I thought it just made the point in a way that makes it even clearer, made it clearer for me anyway, about that the whole dual aspect of the ascension. And it was about the great composer Puccini, who some of you would know. I wasn't sure, but some of you would know. He wrote the great operas like La Bohème, Madame Butterfly, Tosca, and his last work was Turandot. But in 1922, Puccini was working on his final work, as it turned out, because he was diagnosed with a terminal disease. And he was aware of that, and so he met with his students, his disciples, and told them, he said, if I don't finish this work, I want you to finish it. And he died in 1924 with that work unfinished. So his students, true to their word, finished the opera and performed it in the famous La Scala Opera House in Milan in 1926. And that beautiful opera was conducted by his student, Toscanini. And so they were in this beautiful place and this magnificent music, and Toscanini, when they got to the end of where Puccini had written this opera, he stopped and he put the baton down, and there was silence. And he said, "Thus far the Master has written." And there was absolute silence. And then he went on to say, "But his disciples have finished his work." And he took up the baton and continued with the beautiful opera. And so in a way it kind of summarised, at least for me, that sense that Jesus has said to us, if I don't finish this work, I want you to finish it.